Vrindavan Mahima Amrita. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses glorifying. The material talks about everything. 5 tattvas are there. And in 700 verses, all 5 tattvas can be understood in a summary way. It's called Gita Upanishad. Upanishads are summaries of the teachings of the Shrutis. So of all the Upanishads, the Gita, that song, when the Upanishads get together and sing, what comes out of their mouths all together? There's 108 major Upanishads. When all the Upanishads stand together and sing, what comes out is Gita. Gita means song. What comes out, they sing it. They sing all in harmony. They all sing together. All the Upanishads, Isa Upanishad and this Upanishad, Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. There's so many, 108 major ones, and there's additional ones. And all the personified Upanishads, when they stand and sing together, what is the song that comes out? Tehino Shvinyata Dehi Komaram Yovanam Jaratata Dehantara Praptira. What is the song that comes out? Sarvadharman Prityaja. So therefore Bhagavad Gita, which is Krishna summarizing all the Upanishads in a beautiful song, he sings this whole Upanishad in 700 verses. So it's called Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. It's Krishna's song. And all the personified Upanishads, they sing Krishna's song when they get together. Krishna's number 1 hit song. But Vrindavanas Thakur, he's glorifying one aspect of Krishna's total expanse of energies, Vrindavan, Brajadam, and he's speaking 1200 verses to glorify that one aspect. So imagine how deep Vrindavan is. Arjuna, when Krishna was teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita, he had to go to such an extent to show him the Virata Rupa. He had to show the Virata Rupa just to explain some of the teachings and how unlimitedly expansive that is. Krishna showed him thousands of mouths and thousands of planets and stars and everything in one place. Then he got some idea of the 5 tattvas. Krishna went to a lot of trouble just to teach 5 tattvas. And Vrindavan is millions of times more than all those 5 tattvas. So we may think, well, how is it he's speaking 1200 verses to glorify Vrindavan? Vrindavan is the highest of all tattvas, the completion of all tattvas. Everything is in Vrindavan. That's why Krishna says, after showing the Virata Rupam, he shows the Virata Rupam in his 4-arm form and his 2-arm form, and he tells everything about karma and gyan and bhakti, everything about the trigunas and prakriti and ishvara and jiva and kala and karma. Then he finally says, well, whatever I told you, it's insignificant. Everything I told you fits into one particle of one piece of dust in one place known as Braj. So all the knowledge, I showed you the Virata Rupa, I showed you all the universes and all the knowledge, forget it. Just throw it away. I told you all about Varna Dharma and Ashram Dharma, forget it. Forget your Sannyas Dharma, forget your Kshatriya Dharma, forget your Ashram Dharma and your Kula Dharma and all your Dharmas, forget it. Go to Braj. Sarvadharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braj. Braj means go, and means Vrindavan. So there, Krishna himself is proving in Bhagavad Gita how unlimited is the tattva of Vrindavan. How unlimited is the expanse of Vrindavan. It's far greater than the Virata Rupa and far greater than the Pancha Tattva of the Bhagavad Gita. And far greater than all the Upanishads. And far greater than the Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. This is Vrindavan. Mahimamrita. The nectar glories of Vrindavan. So therefore we think, so many verses about Vrindavan, I'm tired. Another one? We haven't realized one. That's why Krishna keeps speaking. He keeps speaking 700 verses, hoping that Arjuna will realize one. And finally he says, You've heard? Have you heard me? Are you listening? Srinu, are you hearing me? Yeah, but keep speaking. And finally he winds up, he says, listen, I've had enough. And after 40 minutes or so, he said, listen, this is a long class, it's time for prasadam now. Class is over at 9 o'clock. It's a 45-minute class. Temple commander told me to end the class on time. So he spoke the Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes. And they said, listen, just be dear to me and surrender. That's all. That's what love means. Be dear to your beloved and surrender. Bas. That's the sum and substance of all the Upanishads. When all the Upanishads get together and sing, what comes out? The Gita. The Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. And what do they sing? Become dear Vishnu Priya, Krishna Priya, and surrender. Bas. That's it. Bhagavad Gita seminar over. Then the next question that people raise is, how to become dear to Krishna? How to, no to, when to, why to. So this is the next verse, 59. Shirada Murli Daro Gunanidhi Srimat Padam Bauru Bruha Dvandvaineva Sudha Mudakar Maha Madhurya Nishyandina Ascharya Sokumarya Parama Avyatyanta Kotuhalad Yasyam Sansharata Sadadivas Tam Vrindavana Niyavanyam. Shri Vrindavan is the supreme shelter of all matchless beauty. Vrindavan is marked with the lotus seat of Radha Murlidhar. Where oceans of transcendental qualities, Guna Nidhi, and Srimad Padam Boruha. Vrindavan bestows sweet ecstatic love that defeats even nectar. Just reside eternally in that Vrindavan. Sad Adivas, like Adivas Kirtan. And they have Tirobhava, Sad Goswami's 3-day function. The first day is called the Adivas function. There's 24-hour Kirtan. And during that 24-hour Kandanam, they invite all the different 64 Mahantas of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the 64 Mahants, Ashtakavirajs, the Sad Goswamis, Panchatattva, Dwadasa Gopal, and so many others, all add up to 64. And they're invited to attend that function. Then the next day there's Puja and Pat at the Samadhi and Mahima glorification of Vaishnava. Then the third day there's Shobhayatra with a painting of that Vaishnava on sometimes a very elaborate carriage or jeep or some type of palanquin, and carried all around Vrindavan, visiting the major temples, and with Nagar Kirtan, all the Vaishnavas. Then there's Vaishnava Seva, Prasad Seva. That's the usual. Rupa Goswami Tirobhav, Jiva Goswami Tirobhav. Sanatana Goswami, 3-day function. This is the tradition everywhere. Gaudiya Sampradaya. Tirobhav. Avirbhav, there's nothing. Tirobhav, 3 days. So this is Radha Murli Daro Gunanidhi Srimat Padambujo Dvandvainaiva Sudha Mudakar Mahamadurya Nishyanta. The second translation here we can read. We're being begged by the author. He's saying, please always reside in Brajadam, where there are beautiful lotus flowers, where you'll find the beautiful lotus flowers of their feet. From the lotus flowers of the divine couple's feet flows a sweetness that eclipses the greatest nectar. O Sudha Mudakara, Mahamadurya Nisyandina. Sudha means nectar, mudakara. Mahamadurya, the greatest, Mahamadurya. Nisyandina must mean eclipse. Nishadin. Oh, Nishadin. Sudha mudakara, muda. Shri Radha Murlidhar, who are the two treasure houses of transcendental virtues. Nidhi means treasure house. Guna means qualities, attributes, or virtues. And who are wonderfully and incomparably youthful and delicate, they eagerly walk there. So Kumarya. Ascharya Atula. Atula means no comparison. Atul. There's no comparison to their wondrous forms. Ascharya, amazing, wonderful forms. So Kumarya, so tender, so youthful. That divine couple is wandering, Radha Murlidhara wandering in that Vrindavan, emanating a sweetness that eclipses the greatest nectar. Somaras and any kind of amrit and nectar becomes nothing if one experiences a drop of the sweetness of Radha Murlidhara. The author is proclaiming that to the world. And he's experiencing that. He's living in Vrindavan, at Kaliyadaha, Prabhupada Saraswati, eternally in his bhajan form, bhajan kuti. And he's begging everyone, please come. Always stay here. Stay here life after life until you experience the sweetness. It may take some lifetimes. We want the sweetest thing right now. We say, one side we say we want prema, we want transcendental blissful service of Radha and Krishna. But we also want so many other things. That's the problem. That one want is positive, progressive, and helpful. That one desire, spiritual aspiration. But bahushaka nantyascha. What is it? Vyavasya vikabudhir. Ekeha kuranandana. Our mind is branched in many directions because of our material desires. So that's difficult to taste that sweetness. Because he's saying, please, he's saying, please reside in the land of Vrindavan. It's beautiful. And what is there? You'll find lotus flowers. What kind of lotus flowers? The feet of Radha Murlidhara. These lotus flowers. So sweet, so tender, so fragrant, so beautiful. And they're oozing nectar of love. And what are those? And those lotus flowers, because lotus flowers give some nectar, some honey that the bees come and collect. And from their lotus flower feet flows a sweetness that's so sweet it's greater than the greatest nectars. And they are Gunanidhi. Shri Radha Murlidharo Guna Radha. Gunanidhi. Nidhi means treasure house, jewel, or ocean. So those lotus feet are in Vrindavan, and they're emanating such sweetness. And he's begging us, please. He says, Sadadi Nivas. Yasyam Sansharata Sadadi Nivas Tam Vrindavana Niyavanam. Vrindavan Niyavanim. It's a word he often uses to describe Vrindavan. Niyavanim. We were mentioning, and he's begging us, the author says, please reside here. Always reside in the land of Vrindavan. Sad Adivas. And he's telling us that if you reside here, as I'm residing here, you'll experience such sweetness. But it may take a few lifetimes. Every one of us has lived before, and so many befores. Before, and before. And after, we will live so many more times. But these bhakti sanskaras are going into our chitta. by this hearing process and bhakti bhajan. And when the mood of separation becomes very strong, then the distance becomes very short. But to develop that mood of separation is not so easy. That we have to pray for. The mood of separation, viraha, vipralambha. In one place in all Prabhupada's books he mentions the term vipralambha seva. And that's the essence of Raganuga Bhajan. You can see on a folio. Type up vipralambha seva. And one mention you'll find that. And for the hawk-like reader who has eyes like a hawk, who can see a little rabbit from hawk is like an eagle type bird, hawk, different type. They can see a little rat or whatever on the ground from a few miles away, and they fly down and have lunch. Krishna gave them that facility. So they'll see that vipralambha seva and say, yes. Gurudev is saying there, like someone might say, where can I find my treasure? Go there, and they'll point. They'll say there. So in Krishna book, delivery of the message of Krishna to the gopis. That's Brahma Gita, chapter 47 must be. Krishna book entitled Delivery of the Message of Lord Krishna to the Gopis by Uddhava. And Krishna came in the form of bumblebee, whom Radharani addressed in her Chitrajalpa and Udgurna, her madness and Pralapa, and her madness of Divyanmad Mahabhav. But in some commentaries on some of those verses, Prabhupada is explaining, what does he say exactly? This is the method of worship taught by Vipralambha Seva is the method of worship taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis have taught the worship of Radha and Krishna in the mood of the gopis separation. It actually, another place in one purport, maybe in Krishna Book, Prabhupada said, it's the duty of the spiritual masters to train their disciples in the mood of separation. We were reflecting on this principle, separation, simultaneously to why we're speaking. And we became a little bit disturbed internally because assuming it's correct, and of course we're not saying this for any particular ulterior motive, but we're trying to reveal this and share this to encourage all the listeners and sincere sadhakas that it's not an easy game, it's not an easy ball game. That we have to practice very, very seriously. And in other words, as they say, get serious. Wake up, Jeev Jago. Get with it. Stop oversleeping, stop talking prajalpa, stop wasting time. Newspapers, magazines, internet surfing, etc. And deeply study the books and chant with Sharanagati. One acharya was asked by one kirtan leader, famous kirtan leader of ISKCON, asked one Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi acharya, he said, what is the mood that we should have when he said, what should we meditate on when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? So one might think that the acharya would say, meditate on Astagali Leela, which is easier said than done, first of all, because you don't meditate on the Leela. The Leela comes to you and takes you in it. You can try to think about it. But what was his answer after doing bhajan for 70 years, 2 lakhs a day, japa for 70 years in this life? And he said you should meditate on Sharanagati. You're chanting, the mood, the only thing you should meditate on and reflect on and think about is Sharanagati, surrendering to the name. Of course, Sharanagati has 6 aspects. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshishyatiti vishwaso goptatravaranam tada. Atma nikshepa karpanye sadvida sharanagati. Shadvida Sharanagati. There's 6 forms of Sharanagati, or surrender to the Lord. So the Lord means the holy name. So he's basically saying you should chant the holy name and kirtan with a mood of surrender. And then he went on to explain what happens. He said, generally when people are in kirtan, their minds are, very nice explanation. He said, generally when people are engaged in chanting in kirtan or leading kirtan, their minds are elsewhere. They have to grab their minds. Their minds are running here and there. They're not really hearing the holy name. They're not surrendering to that sound vibration. But what's happening is all the listeners in the audience, all the kanishtas and madhyams or whoever they are, they're going crazy. Why hasn't he changed the tune? Why hasn't he changed the tal? Why hasn't he changed the beat? Why? Because their minds are going crazy. Why? Because their minds are independent. The mind's refusing to surrender to the holy name. Change the tune, and the whole room, 3/4 of the people in the room are vibrating in their mind. Change the tune, change the tune, change the tune. It's not like these televisions where you have something in your hand. What's it called? Remote control? Called remote control? You have something in your hand, remote control. And we didn't have that when I grew up. In the TV. Didn't have a TV at the time. But you hold that in your hand and go, oh, I don't like this show. Doink, 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 doink. You look at 200 shows in 20 minutes. Or 10 minutes. Tat, 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 tat. So that's our mind. Our mind wants 200 objects every 5 minutes. So this statement was given 30 years ago. This idea about Sharanagati should be the meditation behind chanting kirtan, either leading or following, and it was as applicable then as it is now. Watch the mind. See how it jumps like a monkey. Doesn't he know any other tune? This is such a boring tune. I know this tune. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Prabhupada did the same thing in New York. And then people would write in the newspaper, Swamiji comes with hypnotic chant. Swamiji introduces hypnotic chant to the hippies. No, was it? They had all these articles in newspapers. Swami hypnotizes the hippies, because the HH, They gather together and he utters some cantations, some hypnotic mantras, and people move their heads back and forth, and pretty soon they're all in a trance. And then he speaks something from Bhagavad Gita. You're not the body. Surrender to Guru. Love God. Go back to Godhead. And after class, then he brainwashes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then first he brainwashes them to open up their minds. Then he fills it with all this bogus philosophy. Then he chants Hare Krishna again to seal their minds. Lock it in there. He hypnotizes them. This is what the demons would write about Prabhupada's preaching in New York in the 70s. We saw it in the newspaper, heard it on the TV. We would all laugh. Yeah, that's right, we're all hypnotized. You have a choice, either be hypnotized by Prabhupada or be hypnotized by Maya. Maya will hypnotize you and take you to hell. Prabhupada will hypnotize you and take you to heaven. The highest heaven, Goloka Vrindavan. So I was a little disturbed when I was hearing about how when one comes to Vrindavan, Prabhupada Saraswati is saying it flows with sweetness that eclipses the greatest nectar, and that's available here. And I was saying it may take a few lifetimes, and when I said that, I thought about my own lifetimes, because apparently it's said, the seers of the past have said that this one has lived here before. We've all lived here before in this world, but we lived before in Vrindavan, in this very place of Govardhan. But somehow we didn't drink enough of that sweet ras to leave this place and go to that domain. And then we appeared in America, drink some kind of neem ras, the bitter ras of the neem tree. And again to Vrindavan. And again try to surrender. And again try to get serious. And again try to become fully dedicated. And again try to get some full experience of the sweetness of Radha Muralidar's Gunanidhi, their treasure house of attributes at their lotus feet. And maybe we'll come again and again. Who can say? It's not so easy. Well, at least we should start. That's why I'm trying to encourage anyone that can to start now. Start getting a taste for Vrindavan. Surrender. Vrindavan is Tapabhumi. It's called Tapabhumi. And it's called Siddhabhumi. Siddhabhumi, it's the land of perfection. Either you've already done your tapa in other places. Mayapur Navadvipa is called Sadhana Bhumi. Mayapur Navadvipa is called Sadhana Bhumi, the place of sadhan. And Vrindavan is called Siddha Bhumi, the place of siddhas. Or it's called Tapa Bhumi. Because those who have realized the fruit of their tapa, then they've attained siddhi, and they take shelter in Vrindavan. So if one is moved to Vrindavan, and he's not a siddha from doing sadhana in Mayapur, and he hasn't performed sufficient tapasya, then he should get serious. Prabhupada told in the early days, when devotees, Gurudas and Yamuna and other devotees, Grihastas, were coming to Vrindavan, he's writing there. He said, Vrindavan is for the Goswamis. Vrindavan is for Goswamis. And I'm bringing my Grihastas here to serve Radhasham in the mandir, and to serve Radha and Krishna Vrindavan. It's a great fortune for them. But even though they're Grihastas, they must live here like Goswamis. It's right there. So I echo the same feeling and instruction. We should live here like Goswamis. Most people do. If you look at the Grihastas, the Vrajvasi Grihastas who live in Brajabhumi, they all live like Goswamis. You ever see how they eat? They eat one or two, low-key potato chapati. Some kind of cheap dal, split yellow dal. Even the people that have money, even the Brahmins and Vaishyas have money, the Baniyas in Vrindavan, they eat very simply. They don't eat lavishly. Very simple, plain food, like Goswamis. How is everything so simple? You ever see in Vrindavan? So simple. So it doesn't happen overnight, but we shouldn't just bring our lavish Swarga standard to Vrindavan. Text 60. Mahachintaratna prachamaya kurpadi valitam sukarpura shode sukusama parigayas chanishchitam shad orminam nirmalan kara satkrit sparshna lavam Bhavabdim Sri Vrindavana Bhuvam Ita Sandhara Sukham. Vrindavan is decorated with many raised platforms bedecked with jewels and smeared with camphor powder and pollen. Just by touching the land of Vrindavan, one's lamentation, one's illusion, old age, death, hunger, and thirst are vanquished. How does that happen? You just touch Vrindavan and there's no old age, there's no death, there's no illusion, there's no lamentation. Because you touch it, and don't give up the touch, then you die here and get liberated. And there's no death. The soul never dies. There's no illusion. The illusion is when you leave Vrindavan. If you stay in Vrindavan, there's no illusion. If you stay in Vrindavan, there's no lamentation. When you leave, you're lamenting, then you leave. You're lamenting for Bombay or Delhi, then you leave. So you're attached to Vrindavan, automatically lamentation for other things you lost or gave up or so-called disappears. The illusion that there's anything more than Vrindavan disappears. And old age disappears and death disappears. Because you live in your Siddhadeha. Living in Vrindavan means living in your Siddhadeha. Siddhadeha means your Sevadeha. Living in Vrindavan means engaged in Seva. And the bhava of Seva. So you may have an external material body, but it's Siddhadeha as long as you're engaged in service of Krishna. And you give up this useless body in Vrindavan and get your original Siddhadeha and continue your service. Hunger and thirst are vanquished. A real hunger and thirst are for satisfaction, heart's fulfillment. It doesn't come from ahara, nidra, maituna, or bhayam. People have so much ahara, nidra, maituna, and bhayam, but still they're thirsty, and still they're hungry. Because the heart is not in harmony with the soul or connected with Krishna. Therefore, just take shelter of Vrindavan and cross the ocean of material existence. Bhavabdim Sri Vrindavana Bhuvam Ita Santara Sukham. Another verse here. Another translation. Cross the ocean of repeated birth and death and go to the beautiful land of Vrindavan. So outside of Vrindavan is an ocean called Bhavasagar. Delhi is Bhavasagar. Bombay is Delhi's. Bombay is Bhavasagar. Russia is Bhavasagar. Ukraine is Bhavasagar. America is Bhavasagar. France is Bhavasagar. There's an ocean out there full of crocodiles and timingila fish and stingrays and sharks. Hammerhead sharks of Mayavadis. Swallow you right up. So go to the beautiful land of Vrindavan, which is paved with great Chintamani gems and filled with fragrant flower pollen and camphor dust, where the slightest touch uproots the 6 waves of material suffering. Actually, if you're observant and you live here long enough, you'll see that every Brijvasi, at a certain point, Vrindavan hits them. A newly arrived Brijvasi from somewhere, a Brajavasi. Reminds me, once I was in the little gully there going out to Banki Vihari to have darshan, and there's a famous Pedawala. Anyway, these guys that sell these little brown sweets, we say para, but it's actually something else, peda. He was there, and I was coming regularly every day to buy garlands for Prabhupada. And in Kartik, I would collect money. I didn't have any. I'd collect money from. I would present the idea to different devotees who would come for lunch, and I say, "It's Kartik. I have this desire to distribute para to all the yatris as they do parikama around Damodara, and there's thousands of them going every day. And but I don't have any money. If you want to give me some, then I'll buy some today when I go buy flowers, and you come back and take Mahaprasad, and we can pass out at 4 o'clock when people start coming to parikama. Sure, I'll give you 1,000 rupees. So there's that. So then we'd go together. Oftentimes I buy alone. They give me the money the day before. So the Parawala once said, he said, you're Brajavasi. I said, no, I'm this, that, the other thing. He said, no, there's 2. There's Brajavasi and the Brijvasi. I said, Acha. He said, there's Brajavasi and Brijvasi. You're Brajavasi, I'm Brijvasi. I said, okay, that sounds, at least I'm in there somewhere. I'm somewhere between this and that. Somewhere between you and your para. I'm somewhere between me and all your thousands of kilos of para and wherever I am. So I said, how so? What is this thing? He said, you're Brajavasi. Because Braja, you have come from somewhere, America, now you're living here. You're living in, you're Basi, you're living in Braj, but Brajavasi. We are Brijvasi. Brijvasi means we're born here. That's how he described it. I don't know how to explain that according to the lexicon or the dictionary, but that was his idea. So the point I was saying is that when one has stayed here long enough as a Brajavasi or a Brijvasi, one will see in the Brijvasis, as the verse is telling us, the slightest touch with Vrindavan uproots the 6 waves of material suffering, such as lamentation, hankering, lamentation, illusion, old age. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess they're all listed here. Lamentation, illusion, old age, death, hunger, and thirst. These are the 6 basic. There's 18 coverings of the living entity, but these are the 6 major ones. Old age, death, illusion, lamentation, hunger, and thirst. We're always disturbed by these. That's why they're called waves. 6 waves of suffering. You go out on the ocean, you catch a wave and you ride it. You go out and catch a wave. You ride that wave, and one wave comes. Maybe if you're not catching waves, you're just getting knocked down by waves. So these are the waves, and maybe those people that were tumbling under those waves felt they were suffering. And these are waves, because waves on the ocean are coming one after another. One wave and then another wave. They never stop. The waves of the ocean never stop, and they never stop crashing on the shore. And sometimes they come very big waves and crash the shore and crash the houses on the shore and crash the people on the shore and break down everything. Destroy the whole island. Kill everybody. So the waves of material suffering. What does he say here? I don't know what. Shat orminam nirmulan kara satkrit sparshana lavam pavabdim Sri Vrindavana bhuvam ita santarasam. I don't know how that comes, but these 6 sufferings are compared to waves, not just small little baby waves like in the Arabian Ocean in Bombay. But they're big-time waves like Waimea Bay in Hawaii. There's 40 feet, 20-meter high waves. 20 meters high, Waimea Bay. That's big. And I've seen photographs and I've seen movies of people riding those waves on surfboards. So these are the waves of material suffering. They come like tigers to eat us up. So they come like waves, forceful waves. So these waves, that's what these waves are like. Thirst is like a tidal wave. Hunger is like a tidal wave. Old age is like a tidal wave. Death is like a tidal wave. Lamentation is like a tidal wave. Illusion is like a tidal wave. These are the 6 waves. But when one comes to Vrindavan, then there's no more waves. Then it's Rasa Taranga. Bhakti Rasa Taranga. You ride the waves of Bhakti Ras. Sweet waves. Moment to moment. Relishing the Bhakti Ras. 61. Mahajoti Rupam Ati Vimala Nana Mani Gatha Chatabir Vaichityam Kimapi Dadhatim Nityam Sukadam Samanta Shri Radha Madhupati Padanke Sumaduram Smarama Sri Vrindavana Bhuvam Anantad Bhuta Gunam Ananta Gunam. It's unlimited, amazing. Sri Vrindavan is full of transcendental effulgence, extraordinarily pure and indescribably attractive, due to the effulgence emanating from the gems there. Vrindavan is pleasing eternally and decorated with marks of Radha and Krishna's lotus feet. When will I be able to remember the land of Vrindavan, which is filled with unlimited transcendental qualities? Smarama. 61. Let us meditate on the beautiful land of Vrindavan, splendid, full of limitless, wonderful virtues, wonderful with the effulgence of many glistening jewels, granting eternal bliss, and everywhere very sweet with Radha Madhupati's footprints. Mahajoti Rupam Ati Vimala Nana Mani Gata. Mahajoti, greatest effulgence, the form of the greatest effulgence. Ujjvala Nilamani, Sringaras, Ati Vimala, Chatabir Vaichityam, variegatedness, Nitya Sukadam, gives eternal Nitya Sukadham, that's always granting happiness, Nitya Sukh. Krivabala Ami Baroduki, yeah. You're always Sukhi, I'm Dukhi. That's nice. 62. Pareshahanta Sheshakila Parama Maha Pragya Durgyana Sarvash Chayananta Prabhava Bhagavati Sahasor Drim Vitaikanta Bhav Sajotir Basamana Parama Rasamayi Turya Turyati Durya Madhuryogher mano me ramayati paramananda vrindavaniya. Oh, this most blissful land of Vrindavan is incomprehensible even to the most learned persons and to their masters. Hanta, Esha Hanta. Oh, alas, Shesha Akila. Parama Maha Pragya Durgyana Sarvash. It's beyond their knowledge. Even the Mahapragyas, the Parama Mahapragyas, those that are deeply endowed with the deepest form of knowledge, it escapes them. Vrindavan, the understanding of the Durgyan, the understanding of perception still is far beyond their idea. Vrindavan is the topmost spiritual truth and full of unlimited glories. Vrindavan gives immense pleasure to Krishna. Vrindavan is self-manifest and full of transcendental mellows. Vrindavan is completely transcendental and unique. By Vrindavan's sweet nectar, Vrindavan gives great happiness to my mind. Mano me ramayati. Turiya turyati durya. Turiya turyati durya. Parma rasamayi. Swajyotir vasaman. Parma rasamayi. Turiya turyati durya. The supremely blissful land of Vrindavan. Limitless, supremely wonderful splendor of which is beyond the understanding of the most intelligent persons. Vrindavan at once awakens unalloyed love for the Supreme Lord. Aikanta Bhav. Prabhav. Prabhav Bhagavati. Aikanta Bhav. Kanta Bhav. That must be what it's saying. Jim. Sahos Sor Jim Bitai Kanta Bhav. Kanta Bhav, Madhurya Bhav. Gopi Bhav. Kanta Bhav means the lovers. Conjugal lovers. Exchange is called Kanta Bhav. Prabhav, that manifests, that influence. Vrindavan is full of nectar, in which is the most exalted of all transcendental abodes, with a flood of sweetness that delights my heart. Ramayati, Paramananda Vrindavaniya. So those are nice glorifications of Vrindavan. They say that the Guru Tattva and Shiva Tattva and Dham Tattva are the most difficult to understand. So this is Vrindavan. Even the Mahapragya Durgyan Sarvash, the greatest learned persons, they can't comprehend or understand Vrindavan. It's beyond the understanding of the most intelligent. It is the topmost spiritual truth and full of unlimited glories. Vrindavan, Parma Rasamayi, it gives great pleasure to the Lord. It's full of the topmost rasas. That's it for chapter 8 on the glories of Vrindavan. They're incomprehensible to me also. Well, we're just hearing about them to increase our gratitude and our appreciation. Vrindavan Mahimamrita Ki Jai. Let's recite the prayers. O Sri Vrindavan, I am now very fortunate. I have become the object of your invaluable mercy. You have given me the permission to reside within your boundaries, a permission prayed for by Brahma, Shukadev Goswami, son of Kumar and others. This greatest of gifts gives me hope that someday I will directly serve the splendid, charming, eternally youthful, amorous, fair and dark divine couple, Radha Shyam. O Sri Vrindavan, you are more affectionate than millions of mothers. Your supremely wonderful transcendental glories are forever recalled by Lakshmi, Shiva and a host of great souls. Yes, it's true that you have now appeared before my eyes, and you have granted me Brajavas, which is sought by the most advanced devotees. But why do you now hesitate to allow me to serve the Rasik Janas that live within your boundaries? Punyat punyam mangalam mangalanam divya divyam kamadham kamadhanam sarat saram premadam premadanam anyad vrinda ranyato manyatam ka nanyad badami na shrinomi no chintayami nanyad brajami na bhajami na cha ashrayami pashyami jagrati tata sapnapina nanyad Shri Radhika Rati Vinodavanam Vinaham Radha Bhakta Saroja Divya Marupam Radha Drishoranjanam Radha Vakshasi Divya Nilavasanam Radha Manashrinkalam Radha Navisudha Sarakuvalayam Radha Padashrinaken Dunam Lanchanameva Vanchatavane Radhaka Kela Mrigam Madhura Madhura Nana Pushpasorabhya Labhyam Madhura Madhura Bringa Shreni Jankara Ramyam Madhura Madhura Gayat Kokilam Sharikirir Madhura Madhura Gushta Pranabandhu Prabandham Madhura Madhura Radha Kinkariklipta Shayam Madhura Madhura Radha Krishna Keli Nikunjam Madhura Madhura Tat Preman Mandalali Vrindam Madhura Madhura Vrinda Ranyam Evashritosmi Jaiti Jaiti Radha Prema Share Ragadha Jaiti Jaiti Krishnas Tadrasa Paratrishnas Jaiti Jaiti Vrindam Satsakinam Dvayaikyam Jaiti Jaiti Vrinda Kananam Tvatsadamam Namostu Vrindavana Sundarabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Vibravambyam Namostu Vrindavana Jivanabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Nagarabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Satkriyabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Satrasabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Purnatabhyam Namostu Vrindavana Gocharabhyam Yadeva Satchit Rasarupa Buddhir Vrindavanasta Stirajangameshu Satnirvalikam Purushastadeva Chakanti Radha Priyasevi Rupa Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Reading from the glorious Kaleidoscope Glories, Vrindavan. Sattaka 7, text 38. Yadvasa sakalam vibhati chirachid dvaitam yadyap adbhuta. Primananda maharaseka jaladera bindor lavena priyam. Yatstatam manusatva yogi sakalam yanmaduri vaibhava. Ascharyanam sakalam yan maduri vaibhav. Ascharyanam anu machapatram Akilam Vrindavanam Tan Numaha. I offer my humble obeisances to Sri Vrindavan. Vrindavanam Tan Numaha, by whose effulgence both products, matter and spirit are illuminated. By attaining even a drop of Vrindavan, the ocean of ecstatic love, the entire world becomes satisfied. In Vrindavan, everyone else's existence is dependent on the existence of Vrindavan. And Vrindavan's wonderful sweetness, by the wonderful sweetness of Vrindavan, the entire universe aspires to receive even a drop of it. That's interesting. The second translation we have. Let us glorify Vrindavan, from the splendor of which everything is manifest, which delights the spiritual material worlds with a drop from the nectar ocean of the wonderful bliss of pure love, from the existence of which all existence follows, and of the wonders of the glory and sweetness of which the entire world contains only a fragment. So here, Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad is pointing us to the center, the central place from where all places have derived their origin. It's Sridham Vrindavan. Because when you go back and go back and go back and go back and go back, finally you go higher and higher. They say, who's the origin of the demigods? And then they say Brahma. And who's the origin of Brahma? And they say Vishnu. And who's the origin of Vishnu? So then these are personalities, and the Adi Purush, the ultimate origin of everything, is Krishna. Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. But then there's all these different abodes. There's Durgadam, and then there's there's Durgadam or Devi Dam, then there's the Swarga, then there's Haridam, and then you go higher and higher in Haridam, and finally you get to Dwarka, and higher than Dwarka, the Mathura, then higher is Vrindavan. So he's saying here in this verse that Vrindavan is the source of the splendor and the ocean of love, or everything. It says everything is manifest from the splendor of Vrindavan, and a drop from the nectar ocean of the wonderful bliss of pure love. So that's why they say that it's a perverted reflection, this whole material world. If there's any sweetness in this world, if there's any love in this world, it's because it originates there. Madhurya Dham Vrindavan. There's nothing sweeter than pure love. And Vrindavan is the abode of pure love. So that pure love is sprinkled through the universe in various degrees of mixture. The pure love of Vrindavan appears in Vaikuntha with something missing. That pure love loses some of its drops. The Vatsalya drops of love disappear. The Sakya drops of pure love disappear. And the Parakya Bhav Madhurya Ras, those drops of pure love and sweetness, they disappear. And what appears in Vaikuntha is 2.5 drops. 2.5 drops of the sweetness and bliss and love of Brajadam. 2.5 rasas, 2.5 drops of that ocean of sweetness. And Shantaras and Dasiras and Swakya Bhav and Madhurya, Lakshmi Narayan. So then from there it comes down into the heavenly planets, and they really mix up the sweetness and love with all kinds of intoxicants and somaras and other things. And then finally those pure drops, that pure love, becomes reflected here in gross animalism, the so-called loving dealings of people in this world. But Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he wants to remind us and point us that whatever we find here, whatever existence we find here, whatever splendor and glories and delight, and whatever love we find here, and whatever bliss we find here, it is only a fragment. It's only a fragment of the ocean of existence, and the ocean of splendor, and the ocean of bliss and sweetness that we find in that nectarine Dham of Vrindavan. Because everyone is hankering for eternal existence. Everyone is hankering for a life full of delight, a life full of light, awareness, knowledge, a life full of sweetness and loving dealings, and the sweetness of love itself. Even love is such, Krishna Prema is such, that even in the absence of the beloved, one experiences the sweet. In this material world, unless you're with the object of sweetness, you have no experience of it. Rasgulla is in your mouth, then you experience it. If it's in the sweet shop, you don't experience it. You maybe hanker for it. So if your beloved is with you, you experience the sweetness of your beloved's presence. So time and space corrupt everything and limit everything in the material world. But in the spiritual world, this sweetness, love leaves a lingering sweetness that continually drops in the hearts of the Brijvasis. They're always experiencing either love, Prem Purushottam, the personification of Krishna, or love is right in front of them and they're exchanging with him in loving dealings. Or in his absence, they're feeling his union. It's called union and separation, even without the Lord's presence before them. Krishna's with the cows and he's not with Yashoda and Nanda. But what's there, what's present is his prema, the vatsalya, that love is there. And that love, although they're separated on one level because he's out in Gochar and Leela, Gopal, Govinda, but he leaves behind his love, his prem, and that prem is personal and sweet and blissful. So even in separation they feel his presence. That love is always rising in their hearts, and then it just becomes more and more intense in his personal presence. So Prabhupada Saraswati wants to remind us of this extraordinary, whatever we find here, whatever existence and splendor and glory and sweetness, don't forget that there's a purified form of it all. There is a perfectional form of it all, an original form of it all. And that can be found in Sridham Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Text 53. Nirasta Chaigunyam Harirasada Punyam Sakripaya Daranyantara Batam Vimala Paramananda Suganam Hiram Brindaranyam Pahadatula Madhurya Sushama Mahavanyam Danyashrayati Bahumanyastri Jagatam. Any fortunate person certainly becomes glorious within the three worlds by taking shelter of Sri Vrindavan, which is beyond the three modes of nature. Vrindavan is the bestower of ecstatic love for Krishna. Vrindavan is most auspicious. Vrindavan has manifested in this material world out of her own sweet will, and which is the unique, and Vrindavan is the uniquely ecstatic, sanctified forest. He who takes shelter of Vrindavan, which is beyond the three modes of nature, which by her own mercy shines on the earth, and Vrindavan generously gives the nectar of pure love for Lord Hari. Vrindavan is filled with splendid bliss and flooded with unequaled sweetness. Anyone who takes shelter of this Vrindavan will become honored by the three worlds. Bhur-bhuvak Swa. So Vrindavan is famous throughout the three worlds. All the demigods know very much about Vrindavan, especially Lord Shiva and Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Chandra, Surya. They know very much about the glories of Vrindavan. They're sung throughout the universe, and they hanker for opportunity to live here in one form or another. And they are rather, I can't say they're envious, but they very much appreciate those living entities that somehow attain shelter in Vrindavan. This verse is saying that person becomes honorable, becomes honored by the three worlds. Even Shiva bows to the Brijvasis. Brahma bows to the Brijvasis. Even the Brijvasis that are living here today. But Prabhupada Saraswati said if someone can if a devotee can take shelter of Vrindavan, somehow live here, then he'll become very fortunate. Mahavanyam danya shrayati. He can take shelter here. Of course, that itself it's a glorious victory and a great accumulation. Krita punya punja. If someone can attain residence in Vrindavan on any level, in this Vrindavan, in this Jagat, or in the Boma Vrindavan, where Krishna's having Prakat Leela, or what to speak in Aprakat Vrindavan, spiritual world. Any contact with Vrindavan is glorious and honorable and fortunate. And one who has that fortune and who is receiving that honor, he should take it very seriously and responsibly, and understand that this privilege, this privileged residence in the holy Dham of the Lord has been granted, been extended to him, not by right, or not by that he or she deserves it, but it's been extended. It's a privilege. It's been extended by Guru. It's grace of Guru. And as we know, the grace of Guru can be extended and withdrawn because it's not a material thing, it's transcendental. The sustaining of the grace depends on the proper behavior and attitude and purity of purpose of the disciple. We have the phrase Punaramushika Bhava. Mushika apparently means mouse. Again become a mouse. So there's a story that the Guru can empower the disciple to be like a tiger. But if the disciple wants to eat the Guru, then the Guru says, again become a mouse. Because before we meet the Guru, we are a mouse. Or a louse, or a mouse, or a lousy mouse. A lousy mouse. And by Guru Kripa, then Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Guram Yat Kripadam Aham Vande Sri Gurum Dhirataranam. By the mercy of Guru, a crippled man, a manda, a blind man, a crippled man can walk over mountains. This is a miracle. A blind man, anda, can see Taragan. He can see the stars in the sky, a blind man. And a foolish mork or pagal can recite the most eloquent and attractive poetry. Mokam karoti vachalam. So that one should always remember that we may have this fortune and we may be even honored, unknowns to ourselves, but one who takes shelter of Vrindavan may be honored by the three worlds. But we simply want to be recognized by our Guru for our proper attitude and behavior and contribution to this land of Vrindavan. And hopefully we will inherit all these wonderful gifts that are promised here, that Vrindavan gives the nectar of pure love for Lord Hari. Vrindavan itself. The Nitya Parishads give the nectar of pure love also. And the pure devotees give the nectar of pure love also. But Vrindavan also has the power to give pure love. It says that Vrindavan generously gives the nectar of pure love for Lord Hari. The next verse is verse 56. Uchava aviganita brahmandavali manditam trigunam prakritim tirtva jadadukhantaratmakim aparavara vistaram ekam ananda sagaram swabrakasha mahaswacha jyoti rupam param padam. All glories to the unlimited, unfathomable ocean of transcendental amorous pastimes. which is beyond the three modes of material nature found in the innumerable universes that are filled with material miseries. That unfathomable ocean is self-effulgent, pure, and without any tinge of contamination. Of course, this is describing Vrindavan. Beyond the world of the three modes of nature, which is decorated with numberless universes and filled with suffering, is a shoreless ocean of bliss that is self-manifested, brilliant effulgence of the spiritual world. So Vrindavan is carrying the effulgence, the brilliant effulgence of the spiritual world. And when one comes to this realm of Vrindavan, anyone who has ever visited here, so this land of Vrindavan, it's a self-manifested brilliant effulgence of the spiritual world. If anyone visits here, when they return to their home or they stay here for some time and go to their home, then something will happen in their mind or hearts. They'll remember something, because that even they just enter this atmosphere, that effulgence of Vrindavan contacts them. For example, if you go out in the rays of the sun, in the rising sun, if you sit there, your face will become warm by the heat of the sun. And if you stay for an hour or two, then your skin tone will change. If you're dark, you'll get darker. If you're fair, you'll get tan. Suntan, they say. Some effect is there. It's only rays. It's called the rays, the effulgence, the rays of the sun. So they're affecting your external body, your skin surface, giving it a tanning effect. So similarly, when you enter this land of Vrindavan and go to have darshan of the deities, because all the deities are emanating a transcendental effulgence, and all the Leela Stalis are emanating a transcendental effulgence, and all the trees are emanating a transcendental effulgence, and the Yamuna River and the sacred rivers, and Radhakund and Shamakund and Manasiganga and Pavan Sarovar, and they're emanating a transcendental effulgence, and you can't help but contact that, be in it, be suffused by it, and be penetrated by it, and be affected by that brilliant effulgence of the transcendental realm of Vrindavan, which is even manifested in its apricot form here before our very eyes and senses. So that effulgence enters into our subtle bodies, into our minds and hearts and consciousness. And when we return, as I mentioned, to our foreign homes, not our native homes. Our native home is this place, Vrindavan. But we return to our foreign homes, which we call our homes, but there are mistaken homes, our foreign homes. Then we say, oh, there was something about that Vrindavan. So that's the effect of the effulgence of Vrindavan. Text 58. Chaitanya matra nirbhasam nistarangam nirakulam nirasta jnana tatkaryam param brahmeti yadvidu. According to learned scholars, the definition of Supreme Brahman is that which is the source of all consciousness, and which is devoid of the contaminations of agitation, ignorance, and the effects of ignorance. The wise know that this spiritual effulgence emanating and spreading throughout Vrindavan Dham is free from the waves of material change and without suffering, ignorance, or the activities of ignorance. That spiritual effulgence that's saturating Vrindavan is known as the Supreme Brahman. Text 59. Tadantak paramascharyam jyotiraysham vichintaya charvaniya maha ananda sandrabdhim atinirmalam. Just meditate on Krishna's most wonderful transcendental abode, which is beyond the Supreme Brahman. It is supremely relishable in the ocean of pure transcendental bliss. In other words, what's happening here, there's a series of verses which are listed here Sataka 7, verse 56 through 66, and they're bringing us to the a description of Vrindavan Dham. It's kind of like a telescope. You look at, or a microscope. You look at one power, 100x, and you see something, and then you go to 200x, and you see something more, and then 500x, it becomes very clear. So we're flying in a transcendental spaceship, approaching the Brajadam and passing beyond the Brahman, the Param Jyoti, what do they call it? Brahma Jyoti, and into the Paravyom. So this is what's being told here. So it's a series of verses, a krama, sequence. Text 60. Mahasu vistirnatamam mahajolatamam param lokadibir gani bhaver mahitam mahadadbhutam. That abode is vast, effulgent, and simply wonderful. All other planets constantly glorify that abode. Tarantare tatop yasti ascharyam jyotiran anusmara karshnyam mahasvachatamam paravara vivarjitam. Then just meditate on the more brightly shining abode that is situated beyond the transcendental abode of the Supreme Lord. It is black, most transparent, and devoid of beginning or end. Within that splendor is the very wonderful, very great, limitless splendor of Lord Krishna. Please meditate in this way. Mahadiptam Maharamyam Mahamohanam Adbhutam Mahapremati Saundaryam Mahananda Rasotsavam. That great island is most sublime, enchanting, wonderful, charming, and full of bliss and ecstatic love. That splendor is very effulgent, delightful, charming, wonderful, and beautiful. It is filled with great transcendental love and is a great festival of nectar, of a great transcendental bliss. Mahamohanam Adbhutam Saundaryam Rasotsavam. It's a Maha Ananda Rasotsavam, Utsav. It's a festival of the greatest blissful ras. Maha Ananda Rasotsavam. Mahadiptam, Maharamyam. Ramyam means delightful, pleasing. It's supremely pleasing and delightful and charming. And Diptam means it's very effulgent. Text 63. Tato Durantare Jyoti Sarvascharyo Chatabadi Sarvojvalati Sumaho Jwalam Sarvotamattamam. All glories to the self-illuminating abode that is situated beyond this abode, and which is the limit of all wonder. It is the supreme abode of the Lord, because it eliminates even the most shining objects. Text 63. Deep within that splendid world is the most wonderful, splendid, and exalted realm. 64. Mahavaimalya Simanta Parananda Paravadi Krishna Prema Rasardinam Charama Paramodaya. That abode is the limit of all purity, all transcendental happiness and wealth, of the transcendental mellows of ecstatic love for Krishna. And that splendid realm is the ultimate limit of purity, the ultimate limit of transcendental bliss, and the ultimate limit that are the nectarine mellows of spiritual love for Lord Krishna. So obviously the author is, Prabhupada Saraswati is revealing, he's reeling in the greatest bliss of seeing this, actually seeing the apricot Vrindavan from his vantage point at Kaliya Radha or Kaliya Daha in his Bhajan Kutir. He had a sporty. One day he was chanting his japa, watching the Yamuna go by, gazing at the dark waters of the Kalindi, the beautiful Shamrang waters of the Kalindi, passing right under the Kadamba tree, which they did even 200 years ago. Then Jamuna moved far away. The present day Parikrama Marg, the path of the circular path, the Parikrama Marg of Vrindavan, it was formerly the bed of the Yamuna. That's why it's sand everywhere. Of course, it's covered with bricks. You can't find the sand, but it was sand. And right at Kaliyadaha, there were so many bathing ghats built there. You see the ghats sticking out there in the steps. Those ghats are only 150 years old. So 150 years ago, 100 years ago, there was plenty of water flowing through there, and people used to just sit on that ghat and see the Yamuna. So he was 500 years ago, right next to that tree in some kutia, looking at the Jamuna, and the Jamuna went from there 2 or 3 kilometers to the other side. That's how wide the Yamuna was. A vast river of blackness.
Govindam Haripurusham Bhajami Govindam Haripurusham Bhajami Govindam Haripurusham Bhajami Enam Bhagavatam Arabindam Vaisasham Bhagavatam Samasitam Gunasundaramam Anjanathori Kamaniyam Visheshashumam Govindam Haripurusham Mahavrajami Govindam Haripurusham Mahavrajami Govindam Haripurusham Mahavrajami Antaniyasya Priti Ashanti Kanti Kayanti Dhira Kanti Adata Chilaya Sadhu Dharamani Prabhasa Govinda Haripurusham Kamaham Bhajami Govinda Haripurusham Kamaham Bhajami Govinda Haripurusham Kamaham Bhajami Govinda Haripurusham Kamaham-bhajami 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 Govinda Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasada Bodhaya Bhakti Vedana
Patient. Audio to you. Hare Krishna, devotees, thank you for a delicious prasad. Going to the temple now for forgotten classes. See you later.
Accept my humble obeisance at your divine lotus feet, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thanks for everything.